Hello, my name is Liza Elise, or Caffeine and Misery, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the current scourges of the meta as of recording. I'm talking about the one, the only Aichi-Con deck with the King of Knights Alfred in the Ride deck. This is a precon that, with only a couple of cards to upgrade, but very expensive cards, admittedly, is the current tier 1 threat of the meta. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, starting with our 0 and 1 as always. Our 0 is Bartgall, which is the Aichi-Con starter, and mentioned by name on Winkle here, who, when placed on Vanguard Circle, you reveal a grade 3 with the Aichi-Con. Ooh, Alfred. You could pick the Bartgall in Soul and call it, and the Bartgall actually gets a skill to rest and search your deck for a Flogel and call it. Flogel, if you didn't know, is a critical trigger. And when the unit boots the Blaster Blade, it gets 5k. So this gives your starter Forerunner, which for any of you who did not play back in the day or didn't try 0 or anything, Forerunner was a skill on just about every starter where when you ride upon it, it would call itself out. Going to our grade 2s. For the ride line, I'm on Blaster Blade. Obviously, it's the Aichi-Con. You have to. And when he's placed on Van or Rear, you do the whole reveal ride deck, or if you're on one. But for the Aichi-Con, specifically instead of a name component, for a Countermaster 3 energy, you retire opponent's rear guard. And if this one was placed on Van, you draw a card. So even if your opponent doesn't have anything, when you go right into it, it's a free draw. And when he attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, as long as you have a Vanguard with the Aichi-Con, it's a 20k beater until end of turn as a once per turn auto on rearguard circle. And of course, we have the GOAT, the OG, the legendary King of Knights Alfred, who first off has a continuous ability that all of the fighter icon deck grade 3 Vanguards have, where the normal ride of this card from a grade 3 or greater with Aichi-Con and a different name than this unit also becomes a Persona ride. Each deck will have it with the intended fighter icon. He's got 2 other skills, first being that during your turn, he can't be boosted, but he does gain 2k for each of your rear guards, so up to 10k. Along with that, if you have 3 or more rear guards, he gets an extra drive, and if you have 4 or more, he gets an extra critical. You have to Persona ride for that one too, though. So you probably won't see that unless things go bad, because this is just your starting Vanguard for the ride line. It's weird. It's so cool to be able to say that again. Along with that, when he attacks as a once per turn, for a single counterblast, you search your deck for 2 cards with the Aichi-Con. They're called to the same column. Then you shuffle up like normal, and if the opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, they're going to gain 5k each. So I know I just said that we're only on Alfred for the 1 turn, but we're on 2 extra copies just in case we need some extra Persona rides. Of course, our main ride up is going to be swapping to Soul Saver Dragon, a classic. She's got the same skill for Aichi-Con, counts Persona ride. Other than that, she has an act ability for Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast to grade 3 with the Aichi-Con. This is why she's not in the ride deck, you're on the Alfred. She gets the skill that when she attacks, you choose a column, reset all units in that column and give them 5. And if you're Persona Road, you get to pick both columns instead of 1. And the front row will gain 5k until end of turn. So she'll be 18 or 22, depending on if you Persona Road that turn. And this is a line you're going to hear a lot. As long as you have a Vanguard with the Aichi-Con, she is a 10k shield too. She is... This is 40k guard right there on a grade 3. This deck has a lot of cards that say this is a 10... that have abilities that functionally say this is a 10k shield. Along with that, moving off of the Aichi-Con specific stuff, we're on 3 copies of Solitary Knight Gancelot, who gains these 2 skills as long as you have a Royal Paladin Vanguard and no cards in your G-Zone. You'll always have that. The first skill is that when he's discarded, you get to search your deck for a card with Blast Braid's name and shuffle after bottom decking him, And when he attacks, as long as the front row doesn't have a Gant slot, and your soul has a blaster blade, so things that will almost always be true, you can have him gain, or he will gain 5k for every one of your opponent's Vanguard's grades. Then you can choose to give him a critical. If you do, at the end of the battle, you're going to bottom deck him and either add a Blaster Blade from Soul or drop to hand. That is an up to 1, so you don't have to do it, but the bottom deck will be mandatory. So what you can do is, if you're on Soul Saver, you can first swing, just give him power, second swing critical. Moving on to round out our grade 3s, we're on 2 copies of Nebulized Path to Reach for the Stars. I'm so sorry. This card is so expensive. It is necessary for the deck because it helps you dig through for more pieces. Because when it's played, which by the way, it can be played from drop, you bind it, you look at the top 7 cards of the deck, you pick a card with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, and call it to rear guard circle. All of that to round out our grade 3s, we've got our Regalis piece, Primordial Heartblaze, which can be played from drop only if you have a Vanguard with a clan icon, which you do. As long as you have a Vanguard with Persona Ride, you do not Persona Ride this turn, it triggers Persona Ride. It's Gradius Gradiel. This could be any of your Regalis pieces, honestly. It doesn't matter. It's just insane. Moving on to our grade 2s, though. Of course, we've got 3 more Blaster Blades in the main deck. The 3 targets for the 3 Gant slots. On that, we're on 3 copies of Knight of Truth Gordon, who, when placed on rear for single counterblast, gets 10k. And if he was placed by King of Knights Alfred's with an Aichi-Con, you draw a card too. So this is going to be your main grade 2 call off of Alfred because of that extra draw. And he is a 10k interceptor as long as you have a Vanguard with the Aichi-Con. On that, we're on 2 copies of Knight of Starry Sky 0, which is always treated as Knight of Silent Skeleton. He's got an on-play skill that, for a counterblast or Energy Blast 3, if you have a Royal Paladin Vanguard, to draw a card. On that, when he attacks, as long as you have a grade 3 or greater, or as long as he attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, he'll get +5. Or if you have 4 or more units, your Royal Paladin, you're always going to have 4 or more units. He's going to get +10 instead. It is only for that battle, though, but it is not restricted to once per turn. Unlike this last skill, that when he attacks, as long as you have a Vanguard with only Royal Paladin for the turn, you Persona Road, and it was restood by your opponent's by your Vanguard's ability this turn. This is a lot of text, by the way. This is a lot of conditions. For single counterblast, your opponent cannot activate their card's auto abilities till the end of the battle phase. This disables the normal sentinels you put down. This disables all blitz orders. Playing all blitz orders, this disables things like the auto in drop of your protection twin cast, or the auto in drop for cards that give extra guard value. So like Fredris Ringjoy for Estacion, or the Aichi-Con Knight of Silent Skeleton, who, along with being able to be bound from drop when your opponent attacks your grade 3 or greater Vanguard to give it 10k until the end of the battle, though you can only use that skill once per turn. It also gets +5 when it attacks as long as you have grade 3 or greater Vanguard with the Aichi-Con. So he's a 15k beater. Yes, he's only a 5k intercept, but he's functionally a 10k guard once he hits drop. This deck has so much. Going into our grade 1s, though, first off, we've got the best card in the deck. Genuinely, this card is insane. Lake Manlian. She's got 2 skills. First, when she's discarded in the ride phase, you can either call her as Rest or Soul Blast 1 and call her as Stand. And when she's placed on rear, does not have to be by her skill, does not have to be during the main or ride phase. When she's placed on rear, you get to draw a card, and if you do, you discard a card. So she hand filters, she digs deeper, she gives you an extra body, And if you discard her and call her and you draw into her, you can chain that. Nothing in here says you have to discard a card with a different name. She's going to be your other call off of Alfred because she's the only grade 1. You probably don't want to call any triggers because you may be doing that enough already. Along with her, we're on 4 copies of everyone's favorite dog, Sargon. Yay! A winning boost as long as you have more records than your opponent or you play an order. He becomes a 13k booster, and at the end of the battle, you can retire him to check the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in the hand, and then bottom deck the other. Lastly, for grade 1s, we got 4 perfect cards. Moving into our zeros in our trigger lineup. First off, Flogel. This is the trigger I was talking about that can be called off Barkle. And then Bringer of Good Luck, Epona. It is relevant that these are the Aichi-Con ones because in bad situations you will want to call them, honestly. It's weird, but it's true. Other than that, we're on 3 of the shield fronts for extra guard value. 20k this time, not 10. We're on 4 regular heals with Yggdrasil Maiden Elaine, the Aichi-Con heal. And then the OT I'm picking to go with is Eidos Faro, the Spiritual King of Aquatics. You could genuinely run any OT in this deck and be more than okay. This deck is insane. Going to the pros, first off, the ride line pluses like 3 or 4 cards genuinely. Like, it doesn't feel like it because you'd be ripping criticals out, but for Barkle, for example. Oh, but that builds up your board too, so if you go second, and you have the Sargon in hand, but nothing to boost. Oh, look, you got that Barkle. Rest. Here comes Flogel. Oh, look, that's an 18k column on your grade 1 turn going second. This deck can hit really hard, really fast. It has insane durability. None of this extra guard, except for Gallatin, is locked behind being on grade 3. These guys always have big guard value. And the deck draws so much. Knight of Starry Skies. Draws for 3 energy or Counterblast on place. The Blaster Blade in your Ride line is going to draw you a card. Gordon draws you a card if placed by Alfred. You Persona Ride a lot. You're searching your deck for Blaster Blades if you did. Gancelots, which recycle themselves. Lien. I don't need to say more than Lien. She just hand filters so much. In Sargon, everyone knows Sargon by now, but like, because we're on a small order package, he's pretty much always going to be live. If your opponent is on anything that retires even 1 unit, Barkle will look at that and say, hey, I can get a dog, and that'll help. And coming up in Legendary Vanguards, you'll have a way to put the critical trigger back into the deck so it becomes even less of an issue. This deck puts out insane explosive pressure. It turns off auto abilities. It gets a big beater with an extra crit with 5 attacks on your Persona Ride turn. It's got extra drive checks your first grade 3 turn. That is not behind an opponent's grade restriction. The only part of this card that is locked behind that is giving whatever you call +5. Anyways, Gordon gets +10. This deck has insane pressure. It's got insane defense. And honestly, there's not that many cons with it. It's a little hard to pilot sometimes. If you're in weird situations, you can get a lot of choices you need to do. And you admittedly may not make the most optimal ones. But if that's my only issue with the deck is that it's kind of hard to pilot, and even then, it's only a little bit. It's only like at higher skill levels. This is a very good introductory deck for a person. The only other issue with it is this thing is insanely expensive to upgrade. because the Force Air Gowns are insane. You need at least two. This ratio right here, Knight of Silent Skeleton and Knight of Starry Sky 0, you could up 0 more. You could drop them down to 1, do 3 if you honestly feel like the guard is more important. There's a lot you can do with that. And there's a lot of flexibility in this deck. I only have 3 game slots. That's why I'm on 3 Gordon, but you could totally drop that down to 2, be on 4 game slots. You don't actually need the extra King of Knights Alfreds in here. You could swap that out for more tech cards. You could put in copies 3 and 4 of Path if you hate your wallet, for example. There's a lot of flexibility in how you actually want to do it. This is just my approach, how I feel comfortable playing the deck. And honestly, my biggest con in the deck is it runs really smooth. It feels good to play. I don't actually know if I like this deck at all. I have all the cards for it. That's why I put it together. But, like, it's something about it, you know? But this is how I am playing the Aichi-Con deck. If you guys have any thoughts about that, have anything that you guys would do differently, because this deck really does have the space for deck building and skill expression. And it is... I'm going a little over my normal time. I just want to gush a little bit about the fact that you swap through different vanguards and giving Forerunner back. It just feels so good. This is a really nice love letter to Classic for just the sealed pre-con. But if you guys have any thoughts about this deck, thoughts about the video in general, thoughts about me, if you just like listening to me yap, do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. And I will see y'all next time. Ciao.